these people when they do MK Ultra on them, and they, I don't even low-key want to say that because I just, I don't know, all the semantics of shit is like so irrelevant, and then people kind of get caught up in the wrong part of the story. I just want to talk about something that shows how the mind works, and the veil between the conscious and the subconscious mind. But anyway, you see how these people like Britney Spears, I know it happened to Amanda Bynes at some point, Demi Lovato, there's someone I was just thinking about that I can't think of. Low-key even Raven, because she says shit that's like, who says that, you know? And who else? It's a lot of them, but pretty much most of the big, like, child stars, if you see them in an interview or something like that, when they're an adult, they still seem like kids. They seem like just big-ass children. And you know, this is because when they break their mental paradigm, which is, you know, what people call MK Ultra and the butterfly, then after they do the programming and blah, 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 all that shit. But the breaking down of the mental paradigm, when they do that, in order to, basically this is how you turn a person into a very low-level tech computer. You know, they use our design, everything about our design, from our brain and our neurotransmitters to their wires and copper coils and hard drive and memory and you know, storage space and attention span and all of that. Hold on a second. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm just gonna have to deal with that for a second. But, yeah, so, where was I? Oh yeah, so, they just copied everything from the most intricate details. Electrochemical reactions turned into a more dense form of electricity that we use to power this world, or rather the facade of this world, the illusion of this world. And anyway, that topic is deserving of its own spotlight and time. But for now, I just wanted to go over this example because I was reading, all I did was read a post I saw someone repost that Britney Spears had put up, and it made it really, I mean, every time I see something of hers, even though I'm super, like, removed and detached from that, I don't keep up with celebrities, let alone her, to be honest with you, but social media, we're kind of all in this world together, and then, you know, people show you what they're paying attention to, and then, anyway, so, that's why if you really, really want to control your world, you have to, or I don't want to say control your world because it's not really the objective. The objective is more so to be in alignment with the world that matches your highest self desires and your soul's calling, so that you have the most enjoyable and fulfilling experience where you also remember, which is usually a recalling. It doesn't necessarily mean that you were born remembering and then you carried that memory throughout your childhood and your adolescence and now you have the ability to do it. No, usually pieces of that puzzle coming together to create a clear picture for you as you're on your spiritual path, as you're doing the work. So, I'll just let y'all know I'm outside. I'm walking around. So, if I sound like a little out of breath or something like that, I'm actually walking hella fast. So, but I'm trying not to right now. But anyway, so, yeah, so that topic about exactly what is what when it comes to so-called modern technology versus our natural inherent cosmic technology. Yeah, I'm going to save that for its own video, but basically, so as we're changing these people's mental paradigms, all of these people get their so-called opportunity to be in the industry. Depends on how you look at it, right? Because we're all programmed to see that type of thing, a deal, whether it be Hollywood or the music industry or whatever, to be something that's coveted, that everybody wants, and you know, to their creative they should or they would aspire to. But as you can see, for most of these people, the vast majority, and especially when it comes to child stars. Now, this actually happens to most of them. Most people who have been celebrities or, you know, the industry for a long time with a lot of visibility. The people who are behind the scenes more, they are the puppet masters. So that's a little bit different when we're talking about these execs and, you know, things like that. But at the same time, even if you wanted to do something like that and get that type of, you know, big bread and more control and all that, you would still be essentially selling your soul, right? Because do you want to be even more complicit in contributing to these systems that are in place to further entrap humans within the illusory false matrix? And mind you, when I say the illusory false matrix, I'm not referring to the actual cosmos, the actual cosmic creation that is the earth. Like, and people should know that. Like, it should be obvious that I'm not referring to that, but at the same time, the original meaning of that term is not what people think it is. The matrix is actually the original cosmic womb. It's not. It's not this. That's why I call it the false matrix, because all it can do is create denser, more bastardized versions, backwards versions of cosmic concepts. That's all that, we can do in this dimension when it comes to creation outside of things that are just allowing us to go deeper within and therefore without the illusion. So we're going deeper into ourselves, knowing who we are, which means knowing our origins, knowing, our cosmic origins. I'm not just talking about some country, some little culture you belong to, or, some bullshit like that. I'm talking about the real shit, So, people think that they come from these different, tribes of the Bible, and, people are always trying to figure out where on earth they came from. And that is just more nonsense for you to keep your head wrapped up in while you're missing the point that, I wonder, what is even beyond this whole human trajectory? If this is a short stop on my existence in the cosmos, then why am I so fixated on concepts that are only relevant to this realm? Are we focused on eternity, or are we focused on a tiny little blip in time, a tiny little percentage of everything that we will experience as these souls, as these individual emanations of spirit? And so the more we do this, though, we'll realize that we're not, as some people I've heard say in these spiritual communities and everything, which, I renounce them. Anyway, they say that people are, to be honest, this is how irrelevant, that's how I always be like, boom. I have to be so mindful because, I said I denounce those, I denounce being affiliated with these communities and the concepts that they perpetrate. I meant to say perpetuate, but you see it came out when it meant to come out. Just perpetrate. That be perpetrated like there's no good shit. But anyway, so, yeah, it's just a short period of time that we're here. Oh, now I remember, because that's what happens when you don't give a fuck, if you don't try to remember. That's how you remember when it comes to these human, that's the only way I know how to put it, human memories, because human current incarnation memories, whatever, because we are everything. So everything here, like I was saying, we can only make something in this realm that has roots in this realm that is a bastardized, inverted, so backwards, inverted, upside down, same thing, but upside down. We're already here. But anyway, that's the only way that we can make something that does not serve us beyond this realm. And so anything that we make in that way, that backwards way, we had to make it because it's not real. It's just a illusory. Everything else it already is. So, for example, going back into that concept of how the only thing that can serve us is beyond this information. But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to it's not also going to help you in this incarnation, in this life, because this life matters. And if you can't gain some type of mastery of this one, then you're not really gonna be able to get anything done. So, because this is it's really illusion. Our struggles are illusions. So, this is really just for us to like figure out the fact that it is an illusion. But and then when that illusion is dispelled, when that illusion ceases to exist, that veil ceases to exist, that is when we begin to embody. So we become, when I say you have to be initiated, that is that process. After you've gone within, you begin to become initiated on your path, and this will activate your powers, telepathy, telekinesis, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, claircognizance. There's an unlimited gift that can become activated in someone who is going within for and going through these initiations. So, anyway, when people do that, they unlock their gifts, right? But what people don't tell you is that these gifts they're not something that's like just for you, or because the ego picks up a lot in these communities and these spiritual conversations, and people start to just they lose sight of ways that they're falling into little illusory traps themselves, and they're perpetuating those in their teaching. They're still way better off than, I'll say, the masses, but they're still missing a large part of the point. So, anyway, when people activate those powers, their aspect of self, but they're that is simply a side effect of dispelling the illusion. Because the illusion is that you are not these things inherently, that you're not spiritually tapped in inherently because you're somehow separate from your source, your God, however you want to call it, whatever. And so, because the truth is what it is, you will begin to, when you go inward, you are taking on processes in the right way, starting from the right brain, starting from that subconscious portal that we all have access to, and that mercurial people who have prominent Gemini or Virgo placements, decided to be incarnated into a vehicle or vessel that is most closely resonant with that frequency of communication, being analytical, pulling information. It's not about, they bastardized everything. So even in your most mainstream astrological interpretations, numerology interpretations, all of it, it all has a lot of blockage in it. But anyway, but yeah. Anyway, so those people who chose designs that are closely connected with Mercury, that's an even more visceral thing for them, that subconscious portal. And so they're supposed to, if they're very in alignment with that trajectory, with that potential, then they're getting information. They're not just research crazy. Oh, I'm just going to get on Google and learn a bunch of random shit. No, they're pulling information straight from the cosmos, straight from the Akashic Record, our original search engine that we all already have access to, that is embedded inside of our DNA. That's why it is so long that if you could unstretch it, if you were to physically, unravel it, could reach to the sun and back, because there's so many lives and there's so much information in there. And as you go through your initiation, your activations, that's another gift that you gain more and more access to, those Akashic records, and you pull information from that. So, anyway, everything is, back to how everything is backwards. So they think that the people here, and this is what I couldn't remember earlier because I had just said that these people were, and this concept was irrelevant. So my mind automatically is like very efficient. It's like, okay, it's irrelevant to your world. It won't exist anymore, So if that's what I'm focused on in the moment. So, but what these people say is that we are fractals or some shit like that. We are like different pieces of our source, when really that's not true. Like, we're everything, but in this particular lifetime, we're resonating more with particular frequencies as we emanate in this reality, in this dimension. So, however, when people start to do things the right way, and they do things in the right order, not taking information from the physical world and then trying to build something that serves the soul with it, because that's how they do things here, because, upside down world, upside down throne world. So, but doing things the right way is when the illusion is dispelled that there's any separation between you and all the different instances of self, which is complete. That's why the concept exists of people being holograms of or source consciousness, however you want to put it. But never get hung up on the words, because that's a distraction, because who gives a fuck? This is a world of frequency, of vibration. Who gives a fuck about, because even a word is a physical concept, because it's a 3D, it's an earthly concept. It's something we created here. It's not our natural way of speaking. We are the advanced tech. So our natural way of speaking is inherent. We don't need anything external to us to do it. So that's why, again, when people start to actually be initiated, when they actually are initiated, they actually start to go through activation, then they're not just regurgitating something they heard somebody else say that they experienced, but they actually experienced it themselves. That's another illusion that's another way that the illusion of separation gets dispelled for you. That heightened sense of telepathy and connection with anybody you've been close to is like, or you don't even have to be close to them, but the way that your minds can link to each other. And you can even do this if you have another friend who is, going on this path like you are. Y'all can link minds, and you can sync up your thoughts. And you can, if there's a concept, like I do this with my close friend, and because there's a lot of concepts that I'll want to explain to him, but I know that he already will understand the concept, but that if I try to use the words, it will most likely, some of the message will get lost. That's why Twitter is cool and everything, and I'm grateful to be able to just share the little bit that I do there, and have people receive it to the extent that they do. But it's like such a small glance compared to the full scope of what it is that I'm wanting to convey. And it's not for lack of understanding on my part, but it's just communicating in that form is very short and succinct, and that's one reason why I'm moving over to share my message most on YouTube, because at least I can ramble on like this. So even if people mundane people, they might think like, oh, she's getting off topic again. She clearly got ADHD. People who are aligned with me, who are on not a higher frequency, because that's not how things work. In the real world, outside of illusion. So not a higher frequency, but it's faster. And so that expanded consciousness allows us to take in more of all types of information, even if it's very far from what everybody's been trained to accept as reality. So anyway, just went up a hill. But okay, so yeah, I know that when I'm communicating with my friends, if I want to get a really, really deep concept across, and I don't want him to miss any detail, but I also don't want him to hear it through not even the lens of my perception. I want him to hear it because I know that he's like super gifted too, and I want him to hear it through his own, or receive the message through his own interpretation, his own lens, because however he interprets that, is gonna do what best serves him. Because that's the way, his interpretation is the way, is the thing that he knows how to translate into. He knows what to do with it. It's going to give him the direction that will best serve him and having that information pass to him in the first place. So sometimes I will just, sync our minds. And we do this like when we're together, but, of course we have all of our telepathic moments when we're not together as well, but this is like a conscious thing that I'll do to pass him a very specific message. And it can literally pop up into his mind like a message, like a text message. But even better, because instead of there being room for it to be interpreted like this or like that, like the message comes through as just simply what it is, like pure truth. Because it just is. It's a frequency. It's a very, very specific code that comes through. So if you look at 777 and you see a code, if like let's say if you wanted to convey a very, very specific concept, you might be able to decode that message basically through something like Morse code, or a whole bunch of different number sequences, and then it will come through as that specific frequency. It can only be interpreted through certain lenses in certain ways. And so this is real communication. This is real technology. This is how we do shit. And once you can see past all this nonsense that they created for us and we got caught up in everything, you will have these different abilities activated, and which one comes first for you and come in most strongly for you, that will have to do with the faith in the stars that you decided you wanted to resonate with most in this incarnation. Pretty much a triad or a quadrant of signs, and when you look into the correlations of those, you will see basically a little blueprint, and you can combine this with your numerology, a little blueprint of what you intended for yourself and how you intended to express those things in that life once you got here. So like me, my triad or my quadrant would be really it's kind of more than that, which also for me, which is also because of the type of mission that I'm on, being a 33, which is a compound 2211 in every other number in existence. So mine is a little bit more, but I'll say my main ones are Scorpio and Sagittarius, and then that also branches out to Virgo, Libra, and Capricorn, and even a little bit of Leo. And that's mostly inside real, so I know for me that's something that comes out when I'm not only being focused in my ego and my geocentric self, even though it's ironic because Leo is all about the ego, but that's the thing, I have to be, as even someone who is aware of them being more than human, it requires me to get in my ego just enough to be able to put my mind, my heart, my thoughts, my feelings on Front Street so that people get the messages that I came to give. Because if not, I'll just spend my whole incarnation reminding myself, which is actually cool. It's nothing wrong with that. That is the first and main mission, and you can't do shit else until, yes, and just, help at me. But anyway, you can't do shit for anybody else. You don't remember who you are and you came to do first. So I'm not downplaying that. Everybody doesn't have to look to a teacher at the same time. That is why you see so many teachers. And then in the spiritual community, you see a lot of like tarot readers and healers and stuff. And they're not really like, they're basically like trying to share their gifts or some things that are supposedly found to be their gifts that they can share. So they kind of just gravitate toward that anything kind of, within that spiritual realm, which is another reason why it's so easy for that type of thing to become popular and become something that's trendy, because this is what people are looking for, but they just get lost in the mix of people gravitating toward this, but not being initiated on the path. So I don't blame them, It's a lot of strays, catch a lot of stray bullets when it's spiritual warfare, So, and the streets is everywhere. It's everywhere. Like, people don't even, but anyway. So, but I'm grateful, like, for everyone who finds me and who found themselves, and I'm just, like, very, very grateful that you're not one of those strays. You're not going to catch those strays that come from those people who are basically trying to haven't gotten themselves there yet, and therefore will not be able to point others to what that direction. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of different possibilities start to open up when you go within, you tap in, and you create in the right way, which is just the real way. the original way, from the higher dimensions on down. And so we're not fractals or fractions or whatever. We're complete, and we are just needing to remember that, and what that means, what that looks like, what that feels like, what that acts like in this world. And so, all right, now I'm gonna get back to these child stars and how, the street is kind of loud, but these child stars and why they seem like children forever, and if they don't just seem like children, they seem deranged. You know, they're always getting locked up in a psych ward or having to go to a rehabilitation center where their soul is numb. They numb the soul, or they put them on all of these meds, psychotropic meds, and all this nonsense. And then people can't even feel or think. People can't even feel or think for themselves anymore. And then they can be utilized because it's like they're just a shell, you know. So then these entities, when I call them entities, not because, I don't call them entities because they're not people, or that people aren't behind them. And I don't want people to get that confused, because that's not why I do that. Not because, secretly everybody who runs these institutions are dinosaurs from a different planet, and you know, I want you to know that like a lot of people who look just like you, and that could be on any level, gender, color, whatever culture, species, can be not on your side, you know, because we're everything, you know. So if we want to become an enemy to ourselves, we can, and then we can perceive ourselves as having physical enemies, and then that are not ourselves, that are external to us, and then we can live life that way, and then our life can become a disaster, and we can become victims to that. So, anyway, these people, they already had their minds, their mental paradigms broken, and then they get the slate swipes clean essentially over and over again. You know, this is how the TV, they used to call those programs, the shows. Everything is a program, so all of the media that they have is intended, it was created to be a program. That's why, again, it's a bastardized form of creativity, because it's not a natural expression. It's something that people create, they devise for a specific outcome that doesn't serve them beyond their existence in this incarnation. So, anyway, people, they're constantly they have groomers, and they have what do they call them? Handlers. And so they're constantly being pacified and programmed. And part of that, they really need energy from the internal entire collective to get them to agree to the fact that that person, Britney Spears, is crazy. They put these headlines, they put all this information out in the media, they do it from whatever perspective. They let her have just enough rope to tie herself up with, to hang herself with, basically. Because at the end of the day, she can't do whatever she wants to do, but she can talk to y'all and tell y'all, make it sound like she's crazy because she has the least amount of sovereignty that a human can have. All of these people, they are the least sovereign, the least, autonomous human beings on this planet. And we are not designed to be confined like that. That's why we have all these neurons. We don't have more neurons than any other creature on the planet to be controlled by another entity. We have them specifically so that we can rule ourselves. That's why people are so unhappy now. And you have all this anxiety and depression and everything because people do not control themselves. What they do on a mass, what you think you're a victim of and you think they do to you by you being poor or middle class, having to work every day for your money, having to live in, where you live at, but to have people be so programmed that they don't understand these truths beyond the veil and, these spiritual concepts that you want to talk with them with because they're all programmed to believe in religion and to go along with the government and the status quo. Well, how they've done that to your little microcosm, your little reality, they do that to celebrities on a scale that is way amplified beyond that. That is the hell. They are in the hell parts of this planet. Like the really, really big ones. It's sad. It's sad what they do to them. And then what happens once they have had what they've had done to them, the breaking, the brainwashing, that's why it's like creates like a clean slate that they can do whatever they want with. It's like if they had a robot and there were other people inside of the robot controlling the robot, but the robot looks like someone that you used to know, but it's little men inside pretending to be somebody that you used to know. Anyway. So, that's the point of that. But, anyway, so what happens with these people, though, when they try to regain consciousness, and they try to get their sovereignty, their human rights back, because those are real human rights, and that's why it's bullshit to fight for them, because that requires some type of resistance. When what just is, you're already free. So, the fact that these people are trying to reclaim their sovereignty, reclaim their rights, their whole way that their mental space is designed, the whole interior has been reupholstered by the time they get back up in there. And the improvements are not for the better. So these people, they don't have a veil anymore between their conscious and their subconscious mind. Everyone has a veil there. That is the microcosm of the macrocosm. That is the collective veil that people refer to as being something that's being lifted during these times of increased spiritual knowledge, information. So, but what that veil does, that veil is the reason why, and the physical, first I'll say, the physical version of that veil is the membrane that we're all born with in our heads. And when we're born, it's very permeable. So it's not this hard barrier. Kind of like how our form used to be on the first root race, when we were more etheric and we weren't so physically dense. That's like how the membrane is. So that membrane, it firms up as we get older. Up until the age of 9, it's a lot more permeable. And as we get older, we also have the calcification going on as well that prevents us from being able to recall. But anyway, these are physical representations of the ethereal veil. So this veil is there to separate what you perceive as reality, what you and the collective in the realm that you reside in agree to experiencing as reality, and your subconscious, that's your conscious mind. Because the things that you are viscerally aware of without having to meditate or integrate or remind yourself, remember. It's everything we see with our two physical eyes. Our subconscious is it serves the same purpose, it's correlated with our subconscious mind. Our pineal gland, I'm sorry. Our third eye. And this gives us the ability to see beyond this physical reality, to see beyond illusion, beyond what we think we know, because it's what we process viscerally, consciously. So these people, when you don't decide to thin out that veil by your own choice, is when that turns into a hellscape. That's when people have bad trips, they have psychotic breakdowns, they have, what else? People have, it's people like Britney Spears, so, where somebody all of a sudden has unexplainable behavior, and they can't explain it to you, and they can't explain it to themselves because they don't have clear communication with their subconscious, because that relationship was not fostered, right? It was forced on them, and it came in, of course, backwards through the root chakra, through fear programming. So this was basically an inorganic way to dispel that veil. And that unleashes pure chaos. You know why? Because the subconscious is the dark, feminine, Lilith energy that is completely unbridled, that is, it is the reason why, patriarchy exists to constantly get us to forget how powerful that feminine energy is. And it's the same reason why it gets villainized and misunderstood. Anyway, so I forgot. It's about that time. I need to order me some food, and I just been walking and walking and walking, and so I'm gonna just try to wrap this up. So when people just all the time, that's the same reason why you see a lot of people who are homeless who lose their grasp on the physical conscious reality, which is why it's kind of ironic that the so-called conscious community is a spiritual community, or they're supposed to be so advanced or something, because conscious is just the obvious part, it's the surface, it's the 3D, and the subconscious is the cosmic part. But anyway, so that's why people who have lost their grasp on conscious reality, you see them living on the street talking, people will say they're talking to themselves. Yeah, they're talking to instances that they create. They're talking to instances of themselves. They're talking to things that exist within all of us, but that we don't have exist with constant, continuous access to without knowing how to do that. Because that's why we don't use, what do they say, the average human uses like 20% of their mental brain capacity or something like that. And then you watch these movies, Limitless and Lucy, and they're like superhumans all of a sudden. But like in Limitless, he basically became a crackhead because it's not sustainable in this dimension to operate with 100% subconscious access perpetually. And that's why everything was perfectly made how it is, including the duality of it, because that's what you're here to figure out, and that's how you transcend it, by realizing what it is and what purpose that it serves. But, so, yeah, that's why. Just like when Brittany writes one of these posts, it's like she doesn't understand that you can't just say anything. It's like a child, because they get these people so young. Even Raven, she says some shit that's like, who says that, And then she ends up getting fired up, and it's like she doesn't realize how she's perceived, because they have arrested development. Because when people go through trauma, their mental development becomes arrested at the stage that they were at when they had that trauma first inflicted on them. So when they get these kids in the industry, they start breaking their mental paradigms at such an early part in their lives, and their mental development, the brain doesn't even fully develop to 25, that they break their function to optimally navigate between the conscious and the subconscious. And so, humans are supposed to have free will. So if they didn't want to explore the subconscious, it's just going to come through as pure dark chaos. And do you know why it's dark? Because for me, it's dark in a good way. There's no negative aspect to that darkness, because it's like I am made for it, so I can see, I am built to see in that darkness, and therefore be able to separate the concepts that are in it, understand all the concepts, understand which ones serve me, how they can serve me, etc., etc. Because even back in the day, that's another ability, like, we could see in the dark. We didn't need these bastardized versions of light. We already were light. We did not need water. We already were water. We didn't need food. We are the source. You know what I'm saying? So all this shit is just dense. Really just dense as fuck versions of what we really are. But anyway, so for them though, when that veil is completely obliterated, and then next thing you know, there's no separation between the conscious and the subconscious. They just have all access. It's just gibberish. It's literally so it's pure chaos, and they're not the light because they have not gone on that path. They're not the darkness. They haven't been on that path, so it's not for them. It was not for them. You cannot make humans do something against their will, and it works out. It unleashes chaos. So yeah, I mean, it's fucked up what they do to these people, but people need to stop aspiring to be in the position of others because they have no idea the power, the freedom, just the abundance, the love that is the path that they're on. No matter, even though it might seem like it's full of obstacles or shit you don't think you should have to deal with. It's like shit, a lot of shit. It comes easy, but if you want to know about the real things, just like I was saying earlier, if you want to remember like some human disinclination, type of memory, if you want to work on that memory, you just have to let go. You can't resist. That's everything here in the 3D. If you try too hard, it's not yours because it's already obvious energetically that it's not yours. So that is the only reality. But if you want to know the truth that transcends this reality, it's relevant, not just here, but when you're off to your next mission, because it's going to take most people so long to get there, and that's normal at this point, but I'm just saying, because they might have to come back here 20 more times again before they understand things that you're understanding in this lifetime, I promise you. So, if you want to learn those things that have value beyond your time here, but that also have all the cheat codes for your time here inside of them, you have to actually look. You have to actually go after it. You have to seek it. The only thing falling in your lap are signs and synchronicities. And you got to connect the dots from there.